Hey, say what needs to be said. Monday Night Vibes. It's your host, Asante, Mr. Pick Six Samuel, two-time Super Bowl champion, Pro Bowler, All-Pro, record-breaking cornerback, and 50 interceptions in 10 seasons. Yeah, welcome back to the show. Monday Night Vibes, baby. We turning up. We having a good time. We bringing that good energy over here. We like to have fun and talk about things that is happening in the NFL. The NFL. Speaking of the NFL, football season is around the corner. Training camp is next month. And man, we get some football. We can get some football back going finally, man. So what y'all been up to this weekend? How y'all been doing? Let me bring in my co-host, 2-3 G's.
Yo.
How y'all doing out there? What up, chat? What up, Will Everson? How y'all doing out there? Check in. Let me know where y'all checking in from. And yeah, man, we gotta have a good time tonight. What you been up to, Drees? How you doing this weekend?
Man, listen, that intro, it stopped too early. I just started getting into my groove right there with the music and everything, man. I love it. I'm loving the intro. It got me ready. Got me hyped.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, we need the feedback. We need the feedback in the chat about the intro. Yeah, man, it was real quick. I wanted to test it out, but yeah, I'm gonna definitely extend it out and make it more pleasantful, man, to listen to. That thing was vibing. We were vibing out.
I almost started freestyling,
man. Virginia, way from Virginia. Blessings and budget. Okay. Monday Night Vibes, man. What you been up to today, man? Anything special? Nothing today?
Man, today, man, I've been traveling, so I'm back here, ready to go back to work, ready to go. And we got to talk NFL. I know you said NFL right around the corner.
Yeah.
And we got some breaking news today, man. We got Jaire Alexander been released from Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
And listen, man, they actually had plans on keeping him. So after the draft came and went without a trade with Green Bay's Packers, Jaire Alexander, they end up hold on, my fault. You good? You ready for me to read this?
Yeah. Go
this
for
article.
It, go for
my fault. After the draft came and went without a trade, the Packers considered keeping Alexander, but only if he's willing to rework his contract. Now, Jaire Alexander was due for $17.5 million, and they wasn't able to come to an agreement on the new contract. So they ended up releasing him today, which is the breaking news of the NFL for today. And he's a dog. So I need to know what you think about what happened and went down with Jaire Alexander.
Yeah, man. Hold on. Let me get a few things lined up real quick. There we go. If y'all are not familiar with Jaire Alexander, man, this is Jaire Alexander, and he was recently released, like we said. And I think we got a little ahead of ourselves. And here is the article right here. No, that's the wrong one. But here we go. Jaire Alexander. If you're not familiar with Jaire Alexander, this is him. This is the man of the hour. And if you don't know, man, I want to talk to y'all about a story and understand this side of football, because I was a part of this type of situation, right? And like I was saying, this is one of the downsides of playing in the NFL, what Jaire Alexander is going through. The Green Bay Packers cut Jaire Alexander with a little over a month until training camp begins. I think that training camp starts July 23rd, right? So when there are no more guarantees left in the contract, players are automatically looked at like casualties, salary cap casualties, And the sucky part about this for Jaire Alexander, the Packers put him on a trading block this offseason and were unable to make a deal. With just over a month to go before training camp start, teams already had a roster set, which makes it hard for teams that usually would pursue a player like Jaire because of the cap and roster, So, reread that article again and let make sure we're on point with this. But that's what's happening with Jaire Alexander, and we're going to get into this story.
Mm-hmm. After the draft came and went without a trade, the Packers considered keeping Jaire Alexander, but only if he was willing to rework his contract. The Packers went so far as offering Alexander a revised deal in the recent days, sources told ESPN Jeremy Fowler, but both sides could not reach an agreement. Alexander was scheduled to make $17.5 million this season, but none of that was guaranteed.
Yeah. So, and that's the issue, man. We all go through this in the NFL. When that guaranteed money is up, now they come knocking on your door. And like I said, I was dealing with this same scenario my last year with the Eagles. And the Eagles put me on the trading blocks that off season because, like I'm saying, there was no more guaranteed money in my contract. All the guarantees was finished, right? And while I was on the trading blocks that whole offseason, the Eagles were basically unable to make a deal. They couldn't find no suitors to make a deal. The year before that, I think the Detroit Lions had offered like a second-round pick. So, they was excited about putting me on the trading blocks, right? And I pleaded with Howie and Andy just to release me now so I could hurry up and land a new contract because, like I said, teams already had their roster set and money allocated for cap purposes, but they wouldn't release me. They was holding on to me. They held on, trying to score a big trade for me, right? And it was dreadful. It was very dreadful for me to deal with, right? So the longer teams hold players' rights, right, before a player is released in the offseason, it makes it much, much difficult for a player to get fair market value in a new contract. So this is exactly what Jaire Alexander is dealing with. And he was about to make $17.5 million, which is a hefty amount of money these days, especially for a cornerback or a player period that isn't producing. You know what I mean? And what I see, 2-3 Dries, what I see in this situation is the difference between me and Jaire is I don't like to be inconvenienced, right? And Jaire wasn't willing to rework his contract, which I feel he should have done because of his last 2 seasons. He dealt with injuries, right? And that made him miss a significant amount of time off the field, right? I didn't have those choices. They refused just to cut me, and I just was in fear and waiting. I was in fear that they would hold me and try to release me when training camp started, and that would be the worst possible situation. So I was out there fighting and pleading and begging, man, y'all, hey, let's get this right, man. Y'all make a deal. And actually, man, they had 2 deals on the table. They had the Denver Broncos at first. It was trying to send me to the West Coast, because they didn't want me in some type of division of theirs or things like that. But I had politely had to turn that down. And then miraculously, the Falcons came up. So, that's the crazy part and the downside of being in NFL. When you don't have any more guarantees left in the contract, man, you come expendable easy, man. You come expendable easy, Dries.
Yeah, and I think another a big part played for Jaire Alexander is last season he only played 7 games, and like his whole time on the Packers. I mean, we all know he's a dog, he's nice, but his whole time with the Packers he was available 50% of the time. So exactly. I feel like his injury problem kind of like messed up, and then 17.5 million is a lot of money. You know what I mean? That even though it wasn't guaranteed or nothing like that, but I feel like they just had better options because like, man, half the time you're not even available anyway.
Right. Yeah, man, like I said, he missed a significant amount of time. And you have to understand this is a business. So you have to understand your value and what you've been through. And you're supposed to make $17.5 million, which is market value, in NFL right now. But you have to understand you missed a significant amount of time. You can't just be coming up here demanding all this type of money, I balled out. And, I was still an elite cornerback, and I was forced to restructure my deal with the Falcons so the Falcons could make a trade for me because my cap number was 10, 11, 12 million at the time. And like I said, everything is allocated for people. At that time, they had a cornerback named Brent Grimes who was franchised. So I had to do what I had to do to make this deal and so I can keep my professional career going. But I definitely wasn't compensated fairly, fair market value, Shit, if I remember correctly, I took about an 80% deduction on my contract, man. That shit was painful, man.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? You going from millions and millions to just a couple million, it's painful.
And
So that's the part about it.
a big thing that you mentioned is so late, where training camp is about to start, and I feel like that's going to play a part in a team, because a team probably would have paid him way more at the beginning of the training camp. I mean, at the beginning of the off season than when they would now, because they're like, we already got somebody, so I don't know if we got that much for you now. You know what I mean? So that's definitely going to play a part of the contract. So who you feel like is a good fit for him to go, or who?
Man. It's kind of up in the air. A lot of teams need cornerbacks. I don't see any teams that's maybe one team that is going to be a contender in the NFL for a championship. But I can see Jaire Alexander. You know, the Dolphins pursuing Jaire Alexander. You know, they want to trade Jalen Ramsey. They need a cheaper replacement because, you know, they ain't trying to win nothing. So that's one team. I can see the Jets. The Jets need some help after the departure of DJ Reed. If y'all ain't know DJ Reed, he played on the opposite side of Sauce Gardner. Is it Sauce Gardner or Sauce Walker?
Sauce Gardner.
Yeah, I'm getting them confused, the rapper. So Sauce Gardner, he played on the other side of Sauce Gardner, but now he left to the Lions as a free agent. So the Jets can possibly be a team. And then you got the Cowboys. You know, they're having issues with Trayvon Diggs. He had knee surgery last offseason, and now he's having some reoccurring problems with his knee. And you know, he didn't show up to OTAs and things like that. So they're having some issues. They might want to bring him in, but I don't see Jaire making a heck of an impact whoever signs him. He's a hit or miss type of cornerback, right? He gives up a lot of plays, but he also makes a lot of plays. But he gives up way more than he should be giving up as a cornerback, you know, in the NFL. But those are a few teams I see. Those are a few teams, you know what I mean? Shout out to Dallas, Delaware, VA in the building. Yeah, man, I see all my people checking in, man. We just getting tuned in. Let me know what y'all think about the intro. If you heard the intro, I got to make it a little longer. I'm just messing with it, messing around. Everything is going to be, by the season come, we're going to be on and popping and have this thing looking beautiful. You hear me?
Yeah. Do you think this a 1 year, this a 1 year situation? He gets signed, prove himself, and then he could get back to the higher number?
Yeah, I mean, it's like that's how it goes at the latter part of your career. You know, when you're 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th year and you haven't been productive at all, you're gonna take a massive pay cut and just be a one and done, because I don't see him going out there and producing at no high level, right? You know, I think he had like 1 or 2 good years. So I don't see him going out there and producing at no crazy level where he commands commands market value, you know? So once you get cut, man, once you cut in the NFL, y'all don't understand. The goal is just to make it to free agency without getting cut. Once you get cut, it's like any other job. Your value is diminished instantly. So you was supposed to be a $20 million player a year, but they cut you right before you made it to free agency. Now all of a sudden your value tanks, and now you all of a sudden 10 million, 11 million, 12 million. That's just how the business model goes in the NFL, man. And it sucks, man. It sucks. It sucks, man. It sucks.
He going into year 8 with 12 interceptions.
Yeah, man. Year 8, 12. I think he had 1 year where he had like 5 or 6, you know, and that was the year that put him on the map. All you need is that one good year to put you on the map, man. And you pay, you know. It's all you need, you know. Unfortunately, I had 5, 6 good years, and you know, it took me a while to get on the map, but I made it, you know, fighting through that Belichick, the Patriot way system. You understand what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, that's Jaire Alexander. I don't know where he's going to land at. My guess is I think the Ravens, too, you know, that's the one potential contender that he might be able to land to. They had the one cornerback over there, can't think of his name. He had a really good season, had like 7 or 8 interceptions. And then on the other side, it was real awful. So I see Jaire. I see the Ravens possibly making a play for him. But don't expect much if that's your team. If that's your team, don't expect much from Jaire Alexander, man. Especially at this point in his career.
You might get a good 7 games out of him. You know, I might get.
You might get some games out of him, but the productivity is going to be different. You know, he can line up all he wants. I watch him, and a lot of people always ask me about Jaire Alexander and what I think about him. But Yeah, he's a hit or miss type of cornerback, man. You got to be consistent when you're making plays at cornerback and not giving up plays, you know.
Right.
But
And
what we got next?
you a professional shit talker. Is he in that category?
He all right.
Yeah.
He don't get it down. He don't get down like that, man. You know, my professional shit talking isn't really public like that. Now it's public because I'm on this podcast and things like that. But I just kept what I did around my team and teammates and things like that. It was more for competition and keeping everybody excited about practice, you know? So,
yes, sir.
Yeah. So coming up next, what we got?
Man, we talked about Aaron Rodgers a little bit last week, but we got some more. Something that you said, like he got the team waiting, all that stuff. So we actually got a report that came out, and the report says the Steelers, they first targeted Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford during a week that LA wasn't really they wasn't sure about bringing back Matthew Stafford. Then Pittsburgh tried the quarterback Justin Fields. After Justin Fields signed with 2-year, $40 million deal with the Jets, they turned their attention back to Rodgers. Right. It's where their attention stayed for weeks, waiting some more for Rodgers to reciprocate. Waiting so long, Steelers fans thought they were waiting too long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you kind of brought this up last week about waiting so long for a quarterback. So this kind of like falling in place of what you was speaking about last week. So
right. I had to follow up on this because I didn't think people was going to pick up on it and understand that Rodgers was the third option, man. He's the third option. And when is Aaron Rodgers the third option of any team or for anyone, you know? And I know Aaron Rodgers' ego was destroyed when he found out the Steelers made him the third option. Not the first or second. Because now everything is starting to make sense. Why did he hold out for so long and make this a big deal about his signing? You know, Aaron Rodgers feels neglected by the NFL. And he isn't anyone's number one option anymore. So he feels neglected. So what does he do? Act like the brat that he is, right? And like you said in the article, the Steelers' first choice was Justin Fields. The second choice was to make a move for Matthew Stafford. And because they was unable to sign Justin Fields and Matthew Stafford, hey, Aaron Rodgers, can you get us through a year? We need you. Can you help us out? We need to just make it through this year. We don't expect much of you, but can you do that? And Aaron Rodgers says, yes, I'm going to sign with you, but I'm going to sign when I'm ready, and I'm going to make it public when I'm ready. So y'all just sit over there. Y'all sit over there in the still world on egg crates and shaking because we don't have a quarterback, and I'm going to decide when I want to make a decision. You know what I mean? That's just, he's just a wealthy brat at this point, But what do you think about Aaron Rodgers? I think this will be Aaron Rodgers' last season in NFL, right? Because I don't think he'll be able to land a job after this season,
Yeah, unless he make a crazy run that nobody's expecting to make. That's the only way where it's like, whoa, he still got somewhere left in his tank. But I don't think that. You don't believe that. A lot of people don't believe that. And we just think he's out here more so for preparing for the next step of his career, honestly. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's been kind of been playing, like been on TV more than he's been like actually playing. So I think he's more so preparing for the next, and just like you said, he's like grabbing that attention and like I'm making people wait. Everybody wondering what Aaron Rodgers doing. They got their mind set on that more than football. So that's the new Aaron Rodgers, man. I think he's preparing for the next step, man.
Yeah, you're always preparing for the next step. You always have to get it in that. But not only right. I say he's going to retire after this season, but he will be able to land a job, right? He can be a backup or a third string or something like that, but it won't be the capacity that he's used to having, you know what I mean? So I wanted to reiterate myself, and this will be the season he retire. And I'm usually right about quarterbacks needing to retire. Man, I called out Derek Carr last season. He was in one of my videos, and I said he needed to retire, and look at this. A couple months later, he retired. So if you want to know what's going on, you want to know the truth or some inside details, you got to tune in to say what needs to be said. Everybody up there, they're being a puppet. They only can say what the boss man allows them to say, you know what I mean? So, but this is crazy because this is another instance that doesn't make sense about Shedeur Sanders and why he wasn't drafted way before the 5th round. This is another instance that doesn't make sense. And the Steelers been knew about this. The Steelers been knew they had this quarterback controversy and they couldn't sign Justin Fields or they couldn't make a trade for Matthew Stafford. So the Steelers took Will Howard out of Ohio State in the 6th round. Coincidentally, they took him after Shedeur Sanders was drafted, right? Ain't that a coincidence? Mike Tomlin waited until the 6th round. That's 1 round after Shedeur was drafted, and they decided to take a quarterback. I mean, it sounds fishy to me. You know what I mean? Y'all tell me, does it sound fishy? Because this doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense unless Mike Tomlin really doesn't believe Shedeur Sanders isn't starting quarterback material, and I highly doubt that is the case.
Yeah, and I found out today they was pursuing Justin Fields. I just thought they let Justin Fields walk, but they was actually trying to re-sign him. So that was like kind of new to me. So like replacing Justin Fields or Russell Wilson with Shedeur would probably like make the perfect sense, honestly. So yeah. I have no idea on why they skipped them so many times. What it was like, probably they had like 4 picks and they didn't take them. Yeah. that was like really surprising to me.
It's definitely some type of conspiracy going on, man. It's like you never get over it. It's just like, and then the other thing for Aaron Rodgers too, y'all don't understand the type of player Aaron Rodgers think he is. He's a great, awesome player, but sometimes when we're great, the greatness get to our head and we explode. We put ourselves on a pedestal that nobody ever been on before, And with Aaron Rodgers, just to know that they wanted to sign Justin Fields before him, oh man, that's stabbing him in his heart. Oh, it's hitting him in his face, the jaw, the chin, the temple. It's hitting him everywhere. Just to know and understand that, right? Because he is a very egotistical man. He thinks he can do things his way, and it's all right. And I'm not saying none of these things to be disparaging or talk down on him. I'm just telling you that is his character. That's what he showed. And I just don't understand, man. It's like, why didn't Mike Tomlin draft Shedeur Sanders with all this going on? And I think I had a couple theories before, but with the Kenny Pickens or George Pickens and the other situation before, I think he's kind of losing his control and his leadership value that he provided to the team, and people may not see him the same as he once was. And I think that had a lot to do with it, because those past seasons was very stressful to Mike Tomlin, from the outside looking in, with players, acting left and right and jumping up and down and things like that. So he probably was looking at Shedeur as maybe another dramified situation when, man, I'm sure it wouldn't have been that. Man. But
man, I'm going to tell you the real reason. I'm going to tell you the reason right now. Right. The NFL is scripted. Week 1, the Steelers play Jets.
Ain't that wild?
Week 1, Steelers play Jets. It was all part of the little game they was playing to get the rate.
Week 1, Steelers play the Jets. Yeah, they make that stuff happen, man. And
it's like, oh, this is a good story. This is a good storyline. Let's put this together.
They put the schedule together based on the drama and the things that happen in the offseason, the Super Bowl and things like that. And what do you know? Two teams that's going to be not worth the damn. The Steelers and the Jets. The Steelers may be okay, but we all know Aaron Rodgers is not going to be going in. His desire to win and be a championship quarterback has long surpassed him, and he's just here for the check and the camaraderie with the team and things like that. Try to stay young. You see how he was doing the handshakes with Sauce Gardner and things like that, But so this brings me to another point in the what division is this? The AFC West, I think this is, or the AFC North.
It's still is in AFC North.
AFC North, right? If the Bengals doesn't make the playoffs this season, come out of the AFC North with the Steelers and the Browns looking boo-boo. How boo-boo they about to look right now. Their seasons, you know what I mean? I don't know what to say about the Bengals. You know, this team has too much talent not to be competing in January and February. So that is two teams in your division who you need and must beat convincingly two times a year. The Steelers and the Browns. The Bengals have too much talent. That's a talented team, and they need to be in the playoffs this past year. I think they went at 9-8 and missed the playoffs. That was Joe Burrows is much better than that. That team is much better than that. The defense and things like that got to get it together, man. But, that AFC North, man, it's wide open. It's wide open. So
you definitely, if I would have told you that you got a quarterback that threw for the most yards, you got a receiver with a triple crown, and you'd be like, oh yeah, what they went to the Super Bowl? No, bro, they ain't make the playoffs. You'd be surprised, like
right.
But yeah, they could put up 40 points and still lose a game, and that was their problem last year. So hopefully they can fix that up a little bit, maybe be a little bit more competitive and actually make a run, because
defense is very soft. The defense is very soft. I mean, they can't stop the run, they can't stop the pass, they can't get no pressure on the quarterback. It was just terrible all around on defense, you know. And then on offense, I always say a good offense can make a good defense, but the offense is they're a pass happy offense. They throw the ball more than run the ball. But when you can run the ball, be a physical team, get 5 yards here, 6 yards there, 4 yards there, and continue to move the chains and control the ball, that automatically makes the defense better. So if they ain't investing into the running game and the offensive line, probably gonna see the same type of season we saw last season. But we'll have to see how that go. But I want to see the Bengals do much better, man. I really wish I could see the Bengals do much better. You know?
Yeah, it was that one game when they played Washington and they let Washington score on every single possession.
It's crazy. That's like, unbelievable.
They didn't get not one stop.
That could never happen on none of my teams that I played on. I probably lose my mind, let alone the coaches, you know, especially Belichick, you know. But yeah, man. Y'all let me know where y'all tapping in from. I see y'all tapping in, man. Y'all, let me know what y'all think about Aaron Rodgers. What will the Steelers' record be this season? What will Aaron Rodgers do for this team? Where will he lead them to? Are they going to make it to the playoffs? Will they have a winning season? Will they be above 500 and the record after the season? I want to know all these things, man, in the chat and the comment. We need to debate about this. Would you have signed Aaron Rodgers?
Man, I see some people believe he needed that extra year for his Achilles to fully heal. Now it's back. They think he back.
We'll see, man. He can be back, you know, physically and mentally and things like that, but he just doesn't have mentally. He doesn't have it mentally what he once had to be a winner and things like that. That's my opinion. Me being on the field, understanding, being in the 10th and 11th year, going through this routine. Now he's went from Green Bay to New York to the Steelers, and this offseason just been wild. Man, Aaron Rodgers is done with this stuff, man. Give him his check. And yeah. And you know the craziest thing about it, he got teammates on the team that saying, man, send his ASS back where he came from. I can't even remember the defensive back name. People on the team even recognize this. And man, when your teammate is saying this out loud before he even gets there, oh man, it's not a good sign. But obviously, when you get there, you can make up and make things better. But this, I forget. I
know exactly what you're talking about because I saw it too, but I forgot who it was.
Yeah, I was supposed to remember his name, but yeah, that guy there, man. So, but yeah, man. So let's get into this next one, man. We got Shedeur Sanders and the haters, right?
Let's check the beginning of June, and Dion is already complaining about his.
Let's start this over from the beginning so we make sure we hear this loud and clear.
It's the beginning of June, and Dion is already complaining about his son and what went down at the draft. This, my friends, is why Shedeur Sanders fell in the draft. Front offices were just like, no thank you on Shedeur Sanders precisely because of this. Hey, Dion, Shedeur's now 23 years old. I'm not telling a grown man what to do, But it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, Dion. Next time you were asked about it, hey, man, I wish my son the best. I will be rooting for him hard. I'm a Cleveland Browns fan. Go Browns. Just stop. All you're doing is hurting Shedeur.
It's crazy, man, how these Sanders haters are just everywhere. And it's like, they don't stop, And it's like, some of these Shedeur Sanders haters are missing the point. Or should I say, this guy on the show right here, he is proving my point. Because he's saying, this isn't about Shedeur's performance in college. And if he was a 5th round talent, because we all know this isn't the case. This is about 32 teams who decided not to take Shedeur as a top pick in the NFL draft because his dad is a loud and powerful man, meaning loud in social media and things like that. And when has it ever been a time that a 1st round talent became a late round pick because of his dad, right? When has that ever happened in the NFL? And we all know the agenda is crazy. They continue to push the same narrative while the draft been long gone. They continue to talk about the same thing over and over. And it's like, what is this really about, right? And so, like I said, they're proving our point because if dad didn't have a huge following and dad didn't have a big influence, they're saying Shedeur would have been a top pick, basically, if dad would have stayed out of his business, basically, right? But
exactly
because Shedeur's dad's voice is much louder than other dads, Shedeur is punished. Is that what they're saying?
Exactly what they're saying.
Like, that makes no sense. It makes no sense. It's like people get on these podcasts and continue to talk and spew nonsense and not even realize what they're actually saying. You're saying that if dad wasn't in the way, he would have been a top pick. And that's exactly why we are screaming and rallying behind Shedeur Sanders, because we feel this is ludicrous, And his other dads had a lot to say, but we don't hear, other dads because their voice doesn't command the same attention as Coach Prime. So they children don't get punished. Only Coach Prime because his voice is loud. I don't understand what are their points sometimes at half the time, right? It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I can probably guarantee. I ain't gonna say probably. I can guarantee he was one of the people that we talked about before that was celebrating the drop of Shedeur. See, that's what I said. I can see him saying that on the show or whatever his platform that he used the most, celebrating the downfall of Shedeur draft going down to the 5th round, man. Instead of appreciating his game, his talent, his gifts, understanding that this is not right because his quarterbacks that got taken in front of him that shouldn't have. He's one of those people, man. And this is a response from your show, from Say What Needs to Be Said, that he's talking about. So make sure y'all tune into this, subscribing, liking, and because y'all don't want to miss it. Y'all don't want to miss the conversation. The conversation going to continue on forever. But, man, and just for a man to come out and actually say his feelings, and then you kind of punish him for saying his feelings, he's not allowed to say he hurt, but now is he's the problem because he's saying he hurt his son, dropped in it. It makes you not want to do it again.
Right.
So it's more than just coming at Shedeur is also damn, I ain't gonna never open my mouth again. I ain't gonna never say how I feel again, because when I say how I feel is a big deal. Of course, we know don't affect Coach Prime because he kind of really don't care what people think. But as other men that's around watching and seeing this, that can really affect them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's it makes no sense because it's if Coach Prime didn't make any predictions or tell what he thinks is best for his son, as what the father should do, then we're saying, or they're saying that Shedeur wouldn't be in this predicament. Every dad supports their kid. How they support their kid is up to them and how they want to do it and what they learned throughout their life, And basically, they're saying dad shouldn't support your son, shouldn't support his son, because you're going to affect his draft stock. How foolish does that sound, And this is what they're saying. If that wasn't the case, then why the hell aren't they just criticizing Coach Prime, right? If that's not the case, just go right at Coach Prime. You don't have to keep saying X, Y, and Z, the draft, the Shedeur Sanders, all these type of things, because, if y'all didn't see, just recently I spoke about Colin Cowherd unnecessarily going at the Sanders family, and this is his show. The audio I just played, this is from his show. And we all know birds of a feather gonna flock together all the time. And it's like he came right to the show and repeated exactly what Colin Cowherd said. And it's like the propaganda, the nonsense, it's just, I just don't understand, man. I never seen anything like this. First of all, a 5th round pick being talked about as much as he is almost 2 months after the draft. And then second of all, everyone blaming Shedeur draft stock on his father, not on his play, not how well he can lead a team, not if he can be a starter quarterback in the NFL, but because of his father and how his father been his whole life. And that's some weak beta male type stuff. That's what's going on, man. That's weak beta male type stuff. You know what I mean? But I want to hear from Colin Cowherd, and I want to know, man, is this what he's saying? Is he saying Coach Prime wouldn't have supported his son in the way he did? Shedeur would have been a 1st round pick. If that's what he's saying, please respond back to me. Please help me understand your point of view. And if your answer is yes, because I don't expect him to respond, then he must understand this is what everybody is freaking complaining about. Everybody's complaining about this being about Coach Prime and not about Shedeur Sanders, And that's what I want to know. Ultimately, what is this about? I'm sure he's not going to respond.
Yeah.
But direct the criticism towards Coach Prime, man. Please direct the criticism towards Coach Prime. You got like a month left, and then you can criticize football. But until it's time to criticize football, let the young man enjoy his journey. It's like every day is Shedeur Sanders. And it's all right when you have good conversations about Shedeur, have things uplifting him. You have conversations about the possibilities of where he may and may not land on the depth chart. But to hear the crazy foolishness is going to be crazy, It's just crazy to hear it day in and day out. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, and another confusing thing is that Shedeur signed his contract with the Browns. Maybe you could explain this better to me. Earlier, Shedeur signed a contract with the Browns, and then yesterday or the day before, Dylan Grable signed his contract with the Browns. So I'm thinking like they already got three other quarterbacks on the roster. Then these two signed contracts. I mean, can you speak a little bit more on that, or do you know in the direction they going on with 5 quarterbacks on the roster?
Everybody knows they have 5 quarterbacks on the roster, which is super ridiculous. But like I said, this is a team that has no direction. They don't know where they're going. Like the Steelers and the Browns, going to be 2 not so exciting teams coming up this year in the NFL. They don't have the direction. The leadership is off. Like the owner said, Jim Haslam. He spoke about, they take a big swing and they missed on Deshaun Watson. So Deshaun Watson has set them back. He's trying to come back healthy. He's expecting to make an impact this season. So they're all over the place. They don't know what direction they need to go in as far as quarterback. And Kenny Pickett definitely isn't starting quarterback material. Deshaun Watson is a project waiting to see. And you got 2 rookies that's going to really be going at it and competing, you see. But ultimately, I always tell you, Shedeur Sanders, what my eyes tell me, is the most talented on that team, and nobody could beat him. But going back to Colin Cowherd and his show, it's like these guys don't even realize they're making the evidence in that $100 million contract. I mean, that $100 million lawsuit I speak about against the NFL from pain and suffering for Shedeur Sanders that much more stronger when they continue to get up there and keep talking about this is the dad's fault, X, Y, and Z. Man, you can only imagine the propaganda through text messages and the freaking emails and all type of collateral damage that is going to be exposed. You know what I mean? And let me say, this can actually provide expert testimony if they are brought up as a witness. Colin Cowherd and the guy on the show. It's like these guys are experts. They have they've been in this business for a very long time, and they are experts. When you bring an expert witness in, and you say the same things, or if he had to say what he said on this show, that this was the dad's fault, man, that $100 million lawsuit will look real strong. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
they just backing up what everybody been saying, man. If you would have said, man, he ain't do the combine, so we not as confident as drafting him as a quarterback, it's a different story. But the first thing you say, his dad's still hurting him.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Because the consensus,
there you go.
Because if dad didn't have so much influence, the consensus is Shedeur would have been a top pick. That is what everybody's saying. If that's not what everybody's saying, then what are they saying? No one came out and said, this young man is not a talented quarterback. He cannot be a starting quarterback, because that would be a complete lie. He was talented at Jackson State. He was talented at Colorado. He's been all over, you know, at different programs showing his talent, you know. But I don't know no other way to explain this besides some fuckery is going on, you know. Unless these shows aren't serious. They're more of a party or a comedy skit or something like that, right? Because I don't know, man. Like, if I don't understand. Like, I don't understand. It's like I don't know how to explain it. Other than this is like, okay, this is comedy. Come get a laugh. We're talking about Shedeur again. You know what I mean? Because there were so many teams that needed a quarterback that passed on Shedeur. You know, and why? Why is the question? Why did everybody pass on Shedeur? And no one understands. No one understands.
Yeah.
No one understands.
I think somebody need to come get him off the Browns. Somebody that really need him need to come get him.
Thing about that, they had to prove. He had to prove himself first. You know, if he was a first round pick, you know, his ranking and his scouting report and how they view him would be much higher. But right now, it you know, it wouldn't be worth it. You know, technically in the football eyes, you know, and the owners and the coaches and things like that. But y'all got to understand too, man, the adversity Shedeur will face early on is something he isn't used to. Like being fourth on the depth chart, taking 2 reps while the other quarterbacks are getting 5 reps, you know. But I feel like Shedeur will adapt very quickly on this new journey, you know. And I being a 5th round pick, the cards are completely stacked up against him, but that's not going to faze him. You know, his talent is going to override the other quarterbacks, like I said, and ultimately, man, I see Shedeur Sanders prevailing, man. I hope he does. This is the perfect situation to prevail. When I played college and in the NFL, I always looked at every situation as competition. I'm going to go in here and I have to compete to win a spot. So if there wasn't someone that was well established, that was a great player, I always look at an opportunity that I can go win that spot. I can go win the starting job. And I know Shedeur has to see that in the other quarterbacks, the Kenny Pickett's, you know, the Dylan Gabriel is a rookie. Dylan Gabriel, man, let me tell you, he's an efficient quarterback. He's one that's going to get the job done efficiently. He's not going to waste any time. And he's going to do exactly what the coach needs him to do. Shedeur Sanders is more of the talent quarterback who will take more chances. You know, Kenny Pickett, that's a no-no. You know, that's a no-no.
To me, that's a Super Bowl champion right there.
Yeah, that's a Super Bowl champion, man. But it's like this. Here's the other thing too. When you get in the NFL, here's the other thing. Either when you get in the NFL, either you go up or you go down. You don't really stay right there. And I think Kenny Pickett, man, he went down.
He had his time already. He had his time to prove himself.
Yeah, he had his time to prove himself. He didn't know how to continue to elevate his game and get better. That all those things are important. I used off season as, that's the time that I made sure I got better and I stayed on top of my game. The off season I took very seriously, and you have to. If you don't, well, you start falling off very quickly, very quickly. You know what I mean?
That's the odd man out of the Browns. That's the odd man out. Calling it now. You calling it now?
Say, please trade Shedeur to the Colts. Get him on this losing organization. Shedeur deserves better. Yeah, man. And we're just gonna talk about the Colts Friday, man. RIP to the owner, Jim Irsay. They're under a new ownership right now. And that is another situation where it is just awful. You have Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson competing for the starting job in the NFL. Y'all hear me loud and clear. You got Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones competing for the starting job for the Indianapolis Colts. And guess what? Anthony Richardson is already out, not even reporting or throwing at OTAs because of an old shoulder injury. And if you can't tell this season is going downhill already, man, this is our three teams already. We know that is not going to be good at all, man. So we'll see, man. Yeah.
Speaking of Anthony Richardson, have you ever seen that ever? Not even just as a quarterback, but especially a quarterback pulling himself out the game for being tired.
Bro, I never seen that in my life. I never seen that in my life. And you have to understand, man, we feel like when we on the field, we're going to war. We're going to war for each other and with each other. And when we see someone giving up or we feel like they're giving up, like how kind of like T.O. so mad at Donovan McNabb saying he was throwing up in the game and gave up and tapped out. Like, we're at war. I'm fighting hard as I can. I'm giving it all, blood, sweat, and tears for you and everybody else so we can win. And for you not to feel the same way I feel and you to give up on me, that is very, very touching, man, to football players. That adrenaline is rushing. Our emotions are high and we're ready to, it's an aggressive game. We play, this.
Man, how bad you really want to take yourself out? Like, that's not showing how bad you want it for real, man.
Right. Yeah, it's like, I don't know how you take yourself out, man. But some non-football news, man. We're going to get into some non-football news, and we're going to talk about Diddy, how Diddy's around here turning everybody out. And I can't believe I'm saying this. 50 Cent finally took a L. 50 Cent finally took a L, but he don't care. He going to still talk his junk, just like Mr. Pick Six. We talk our shit. And 50 Cent got the City Boys down 100 points. God, dog, I never thought 50 Cent had the City Boys down 100 points. 50 Cent got the City Boys good, boy. 50 Cent baby mama Daphne Joy let Diddy turn her into a demon. Turn her upside down, inside out, left, right. And this got to be one of the biggest embarrassments in 50 Cent's life. One of the biggest embarrassing moments in 50 Cent's life. Have you heard of it? You know about this?
Yeah. It was so crazy. Maybe 2 weeks ago, Diddy tried to troll. Not Diddy. 50 tried to troll Diddy with the free Diddy shirt at the next game. He wear that. The next week, he got the reports coming out from the trial.
Yeah, it's like the worst thing ever. It's like, especially when you so successful and you become a millionaire and making all this money, you never want to find out your baby mama is freak off material. Or a freak like that, like, you know what I mean? But freak off material. And then women wonder why us men have trust issues. They wonder why we have trust issues and being a faithful man because of women like Daphne. And 50 really loved that girl, man. 50 really loved that girl. If y'all remember correctly, or if I remember correctly, she was his first relationship, if not one of his first relationship that he shared with the public. He was taking pictures out, he was smiling, he was happy. It's like he found her out of nowhere. You know what I mean? And then when 50 first started blasting Diddy, we thought 50 was just being a bully. But the whole time 50 had real pressure for Diddy because he knew what was going on. You know what I mean? That was wild. That was wild. I mean, if you know this was going on, it'd make you crash out. It'd make you file a lot of paperwork in the courts. But he handled it like a G. That's one thing about 50, man. But Diddy took the woman 50, damn near put a ring on her finger and turned her out. Like, made her a thought pocket. Y'all ever heard of that term? He made her a straight thought pocket. All right? Y'all ever heard of that term? Did you hear this type of stuff he requested out of these women and out of her? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just wild, man. But I wanted to talk about this because it's like, man, the best of us, man. I don't care who you are, man. The best of us, it just depends on what part of your life, man. We get hit up, get hurt by a woman and things like that. And thank God for me, it happened in elementary school. I wasn't hurt by a woman since elementary school, really. You know, it was a little, little play, girlfriend and boyfriend type of situation. But I wasn't hurt since then. But when she hurt me, she turned me out. She turned me into a dog.
You ain't never forget.
You know what I mean? Turned me out, you know?
And the worst part is, man, you hear all the stuff that she did, and like he put on an allowance, so the money talk.
Right. Yeah. It's like everybody could be bought, right? Mm-hmm. But Diddy got to be the world's freakiest man ever. I haven't seen a man more freaky or heard of a man more freakier than Diddy. Diddy, man. Diddy get real crazy, man.
Man, you just don't know. You just don't know until something come out, man. We ain't know Diddy was like this, man. You hear little certain stories, you don't really believe it until like.
But the thing about it, man, don't think Diddy just became a freaky monster out of nowhere, man. Diddy is reciprocating what may have happened to him or what he may have saw back in the day. So don't think Diddy just coming out of nowhere and reciprocating his energy. No, man, this, you only know what you're taught, basically, in life, you know? But I got a surprise for y'all. I got a surprise for the chat. Shout out to my Facebook people checking in. Shout out to everybody checking in. But I want to know what everybody thinks of this. Now, this has nothing to do with the Diddy situation. It just sounds a little similar, all right? Don't judge it. Just understand this is someone's culture. This is how they get around X, Y, and Z. So don't be up here judging people right off the rip. Let's hear it out first.
It's my dad on the lips growing up until I would say, what? Like.
Let me start that over. You heard that right. We're going to start that over.
I kissed my dad on the lips growing up until I would say, what? Like, till I got to high school. Mm-hmm. But then in high school, I think a few times I kissed him on the lips, like when I graduated, I think when I committed. So a lot of people think it's weird. I kissed my mom on the lips too. I kissed my brothers on the lips when I was growing up. My dad made us do it, so we get in fights. And then after the fight was over, he would make us kiss each other on the lips.
That's a good way to diffuse it.
You can't stay mad at somebody after you kiss them on the lips.
That's awesome.
I do that in fights sometimes. Just kiss them on the lips.
Yeah, now you kiss.
That was going to be my plan if you tried to beat my ass. I'm just going to kiss you.
But nah, my dad made us do it. So I think it's not a thing, I think, in America really, but
yeah,
I think Germany, it's kind of normal.
Yeah.
So it was normal for me growing up.
Yep. You heard it right. That was true statement. That's the reality of the culture in Germany. But we in America. What do we think about this? Right? Obviously, we're gonna clown and act weird, but they gotta respect people's culture, man. What do you think about that 2-3 Gs?
I mean, that's not something my family do, man. We honestly, I just told you, I just was in Philly for my daughter, 4-year-old daughter, birthday party and all that stuff. And there's a lot of times she try to kiss me, like, even though she a girl, I'm like, we kiss each other in the cheek, forehead, or something like that. I don't feel like that's appropriate from father to daughter or father to son. That's just me. I don't know how other people feel, but yeah, man, how you feel about it?
Yeah, man. I'm the same way with you, man. Like you said, that's their culture. That's how they get down. It's just weird hearing that. It would be even weirder seeing it. But yeah, I'm not something I would promote in my family and something I'm down with. But yeah, it's just weird, man. It's just weird. But when you grow up with things, that's all you know. So you only know the environment that you grew up in and what you're taught. So, like you say, once they got to high school, it kind of stopped. Maybe he got older and realized this was kind of a little weird. Pops, got this thing going too far. He probably should have stopped at elementary school, but Pops wanted to keep this thing going on and on and on. So I'm going to cut it for Pops because Pops don't understand that this is a little embarrassing to me, my sister, and the rest of our siblings. You know what I mean? So,
man, he brave for sharing that story. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, it's brave for starting that show. But like I said, when it's his culture,
yeah,
it makes it a little better. But yeah, man, Monday Night Vibes. It was good, man. Hey, guess what? I forgot to tell y'all, man. Thank y'all everybody for staying in and tuning in. Thursday, we got another guest coming on. I got a guest coming on Thursday. I'm not going to tell y'all yet. Yes, they confirmed. And yes, it's going down Thursday. So y'all get ready to tune in, have some fun. Y'all know I like to have fun with guests. And we turn up, baby. And this is an ex-teammate of mine that got traded to one of my teams. Yeah, man, a very interesting teammate, one that looks up to me and one that I think highly of as well, right? A little younger than me. But yeah. Say what needs to be said, man. You got anything to say before we check out Drees?
Make sure y'all liking, subscribing, tuning in, because y'all don't want to miss what's coming up. He told you a special guest coming. It's going to be dropping. So make sure
95% of y'all, man, not liking and subscribing, man. Y'all tuning in, but y'all not liking and subscribing. Turn on your notifications as well. Y'all know. So y'all don't want to miss these guests. Y'all don't want to miss every time we come up here and come preach that word to y'all on this live. We got some insight that we got to bring up. And so it's Monday Night Vibes. That's 2-3 Drees. I'm your boy, Mr. Pick 6. And if we missed anything, y'all let me know, man. Y'all let me know. They're sending stuff in the chat. Let's read a few chats, man, before we dip. Oh, you can't see the
what's
chat.
Up, chat? Yeah, what the chat saying? Let me know what the chat saying.
Yeah, we got one young lady, Chantel, is very interested in Shedeur Sanders and everything he says.
Yeah, she should be, man. I'm excited to see him play because I know I will.
Oh, it look like some arguments.
Oh, they going at it.
Yeah, I was trying to. Okay, here we go. One say the Steelers dumb as hell for passing on Shedeur like 8 times, right? Like that's wild, man. That was one team that I could have put in my back pocket to be selecting Shedeur Sanders. Nobody wants to say with the black head coach and XYZ, but with the black head coach, Mike Tomlin, the connection that we assumed that him and Coach Prime had, that was a done deal. But that's why I said Mike Tomlin waited to after the 5th round to make sure he drafted a quarterback, or he waited to after Shedeur Sanders was drafted to make sure to draft a quarterback so he doesn't have any problems and issues. That was the chump way out of it, in my opinion. You know what I mean? So I think the Steelers would have been a great place for Shedeur Sanders to land. But hey, God has other plans, man. You can't really challenge and question what God got going on. So it is what it is, man. Monday Night Vibes, man. We're gonna tap out this time for real. Me and Drees will probably be back Friday night. We've been missing for a while. We was off like 2 or 3 days, but we back. You know what I mean? So I'll see you next time. I'm gonna holler at y'all. All right, we checking out. Gone.